Hey, Teanna here. Today we are going to be making some DIY business card holders on my Cricut. So as you can see, I'm just starting off on my Cricut screen. If you don't have a Cricut, there's also a way for you to do this with like a printer. I'll talk more about that at the end. But for me, I am using my Cricut. I have the Explore Air 2. And I'm just going to images. And I literally just searched envelope and then just picked one that I liked. So you're going to see which one I picked now. But like I said, I just picked the one that I like. If you like any of the other ones, feel free to pick those. This is just me showing the one that I decided to go with for what I was doing. I'm making this for my specific business cards. So this envelope is the one that I chose. In terms of like what I was looking for, it was best for me. So I'm just picking that blue one that you see right there in the center. And then going to add it to my Cricut. Now, that dark tealish color in the center, that's just decoration. You don't really need that. So I'm going to remove that by clicking that eye right next to it on the right side of my screen. And I'm sorry my camera is shaking. I didn't have it on a tripod. I was just holding it as I was doing it, which is why you see so much movement. I do apologize. I'm also going to remove the scoring lines that you see in the center of the template. I didn't need those because I used the ruler. So, and you'll also see why I used the ruler at the end of the video as well. But I didn't need the scoring lines, so I'm just going to take those off too. And it's just going to leave me with just the outer lines that you really need to fold for the envelope. And it's going to leave me with that top line that you see right there underneath that top flap. But I'm also going to show how you can avoid using that scoring line as well. So once I get it sized to the size of my business card and all of that, I'm going to go ahead and start to make it. I'm going to skip that first cut, which is just that line across the top of that fold at the top. I'm just going to skip that one because, like I said, I don't need those scoring lines because I used a ruler. And then I'm going to hop down to the second one and just cut that. Now I do want to let you all know when I did this, I needed 2 cardstocks and 2 vinyls. So I cut this design 4 times, and you'll see why I did that in a little bit. But I do want to also let you all know, when I cut the vinyl, I left it on cardstock. I didn't switch my pressure to vinyl because I wanted it to cut the entire shape out as opposed to just cutting the top layer of that vinyl out. I wanted it to cut the entire shape out of the top of the vinyl and out of the bottom of the vinyl. And then I'm just showing y'all that I'm leaving it on cardstock. I left it on cardstock I left it on cardstock for all 4 cuts. I did not switch it to vinyl for the vinyl cuts. And you all are going to see why I did that in a little bit after everything gets cut. Now, I'm not showing you all me cutting it because that's just, you know, you press the load button and then you press that Cricut button and then it just does what it does. I didn't really feel like I had to show you all that because if you have a Cricut, you know how to do that already. But yeah, so I didn't need to do anything with those scoring lines. If you want to use the scoring lines, you can, by the way. But for what I was doing, because I needed mine to be like thicker, I didn't use my scoring lines. But if you want to keep the scoring lines on, you would be doing the same thing just with scoring lines instead of without. Alright, so here is my vinyl and my cardstock. As you can see, this is what my cards are currently in, and it needs to go in the trash. I've had it since freshman year of college, which was 2012. It needs to go. So we're going to upgrade them DIY style. So those white cards I made by myself using Canva and then uploading the template that I made to Microsoft Word's little business card template, and then I just printed them out on some cardstock and then cut them into business card size paper. And then eventually I may grade them and get like the professional ones done on Canva, but for now that's good enough for me. The purple cards, however, are professionally done through Vistaprint for my actual LLC that I own. So if you guys are interested, check it out on social media. You can see the information right there. And it'll also be in my description as always. So with that black Cricut pen that you're seeing in the back, I am just going to write what each card holder will be for on each card holder little frame or whatever. And then the vinyl that I cut is to go on top of that cardstock so that it won't get all worn out sitting in my purse. It's like a laminate. It'll make it more durable, basically. Which is why I wanted it to be the exact size so I wouldn't have a hard time laying it onto the cardstock. And you'll see what I mean when I get to that portion of the video. I could have ran the cardstock through my drawing portion of my Cricut, but I just decided to write it out. And you guys are going to see me showing you crazy glue and what is it called? Stick glue? Glue sticks. But I ended up not using those because I just thought about after a while, Teanna, you're putting vinyl on this. That glue is not going to hold the way you want it to hold. So I did end up going back to get the hot glue gun. I did not end up using that crazy glue or that glue stick. And then here I am. I'm just about to write Teanna Branae on that first lilac colored holder. And then on that blue holder, you're going to see me write Teanna B Creations. And like I said, I could have ran it through my Cricut and did it, but I just didn't see the point. It was just an extra unnecessary step. Having to make sure I centered and loaded and calculated exactly where the center of the envelopes are going to be. I just didn't see the point, so I just wrote it out myself. It gets the job done, and it saves me a little bit of time. And don't talk about how bad my handwriting is. I know. I've had bad handwriting my whole life. That's okay. So yeah, I'm just writing my name, writing my business name. And then one thing that I also am going to be using, I forgot to mention as well, is I'm also, oh no, I told you I'm going to be using a ruler too. You're going to see me bring that ruler in a second. But this is when I thought I was about to fold it. And I said, oh no, wait a minute, Teanna, you got to put your vinyl on. And that's the ruler that I'm using. You do want to use a thicker ruler. I know some rulers are like flat and flexible. If you're using a ruler, you do want to make sure it's a chunkier ruler. Just to point that out. And now I'm just going to lay the vinyl on top of the cardstock. This vinyl is like a transparent vinyl. So if you're doing this, I do suggest using a vinyl that you can see through, or you can just cut your vinyl like normal if you want to and just do that cut as whatever you want to label the card holders as. But I wanted mine to be completely covered on the outside, so that's why I didn't do it. This Essence magazine isn't important. I'm just putting everything on top of it so I don't mess up my wooden table. But it wasn't important at all. It was just something that was sitting on the table, so I'm using it. Shout out to Lala on the cover. And you're going to see me slowly work that vinyl on the same way you would work something on if you were actually using like your Cricut tools. I didn't feel like going back to my Cricut machine to get the tools, so I'm just using the ruler because it was sitting there. And I'm just going to smooth it out. I got a little bit of a bubble, but like I said, it wasn't that important to me. I didn't really care. If I was doing this for somebody else, I would have put more of an effort to make sure it was perfect, especially because it's my first time making these. But because I'm not selling it or anything, it's literally just for my personal property, I did not really care. And so that's what that one looks like once it's all covered. And now I'm just showing you all where I'm going to fold. So this is where your scoring lines would have been. But because I didn't want my scoring lines, I am using a ruler to get a straight fold, or as straight as possible. And I purposefully did not use the scoring lines because I needed my envelopes to be, I needed them to have a bigger space in the center. And I thought using the scoring lines would have made it too flat, because technically it's for like one card, two cards. It's not for a stack of cards. And I need mine to be able to hold like 10 to 15 cards. So I just needed more space, and then there you go with the glue gun. And I'm only using a hot glue gun because one side of my cardstock has vinyl on it. Ignore what I'm doing here. I was going to come up with a different way to be able to close my envelopes, but I ended up not liking it, so that was a waste of time. A complete waste of time. But that is an option. You can kind of create like a slit to fold the top half of the envelope in if you're interested, which is what I originally planned to do with those two little pieces of cardstock. But then I ended up coming up with a new idea, and I ended up not using those, and you'll see that in the end. Waiting for my glue to warm because I realized at the last minute that I could not use crazy glue and I could not use a glue stick. So as I'm folding it, you kind of can see how it kind of creates a space because the ruler is so thick. So when I fold it down, it doesn't like press completely down. It kind of leaves an opening still. And I'm just gonna press that down on the other side. Now, I don't think it matters if you fold the longer, because if you notice one side of the cardstock is longer than the other side, one flap. I don't know which flap is supposed to be folded over. I'm just folding the longer one on top of the shorter one. Is that correct? I don't know, but it worked. So that's what we did. So I folded the two, what do I want to call them? Side flaps first and glued those down with a hot glue. And no, I did not get any on my ruler. My ruler still was able to slide out perfectly, and you will see that after I stick the sides together. Make sure that seam is nice and tight. Nothing is on my ruler. I don't know what happened at that bottom, but maybe the small flap is supposed to be over the top flap. Who knows? I don't really care. It worked. And then I'm going to go ahead and put pressure on the bottom, because once the sides are spacious, the bottom isn't going to be able to go that far down anyways. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just showing y'all my imperfection in the corner. I'm going to go ahead and glue the bottom flap as well. Just gluing that. And if y'all hear water running, I'm sorry. People would start moving around as soon as I try to do the audio for this video. So I'm just gluing the bottom flap down. I'm not going to glue the top for obvious reasons. I'm going to set it to the side. I'm not going to glue the top down. That's where the cards are going to go in it. But I am going to fold it just to get it prepped for what I am going to do to it. And I do want to point out, make sure if you're making this, make sure you measure your business cards, and make sure they're like the standard size. Like mine were a standard, 3.5 by 2, I think. So they were able to fit. But see, this is me again, still talking about that sticking it in the slit thing, and I ended up not even doing that. But yeah, make sure they're the perfect size for your envelope. Originally, when I first started recording, my envelopes were too big because I did not go back and shorten them to the size of my business cards, and I wasted some cardstock. I had to do it over. So that's just a tidbit of information for you. And I'm just doing the exact same thing with the blue. You're not going to see that. I just wanted to, if you've seen it once, you've seen it twice. I don't have to show you guys me doing the same thing both times. And then that's how they look once I've finished. If you want to stop there, you can. You can certainly just tuck that top flap into the bottom flap or whatever you want to do. I want mine to have a bit of a seal because, like I said, these are going to be rolling around in my purse. And if you all watched my what's in my bag video, there's always random snacks and milk and all kind of stuff in my purse. So I want to make sure that these actually fold. Just using some scissors and some ribbon. And then I'm going to have some beads I've had since I graduated from college. I use those to decorate my cap. And then some little jewels. But I'm actually going to go back and get bigger jewels because those are too small. So you're going to see me switch my jewels out. So if you notice those are small, and then you're going to see some bigger ones. Those were way too small. I'm going to cut a little bit of string off. I didn't really measure. I just eyeballed it and was like, oh, this is a good amount. So you want to cut as much string. I'm going to do like a wrapping method. Like if you had a manila folder with that little red circle. That's what I'm doing. So however much string you feel like you would need to wrap, that's what the amount should be that you're cutting. But I just eyeballed it. I didn't like I figured, oh, this is long enough, and that was that. And then just figuring out like exactly where the center of the envelope is, because I put my long flap on top of my short flap. That line down the center of the back is not in the center of the envelope. So if you want yours perfectly centered, I do suggest you putting the short flap over the long flap. But it wasn't a big deal to me. This is me switching out for the bigger stones. So I'm just going to put some hot glue on top of my string and put the stone on top of the hot glue down the center of that top flap. And that's going to be like the first part of like being able to seal the envelope. I could have just done something simple like stapled it, or even stuck the string underneath the vinyl and then closed that vinyl down. But I like it being its complete own separate thing more. So that works perfectly fine for me. I'm so mad if y'all can hear this noise. Somebody's running water. I'm sorry. Okay, so that's that. And then I'm just going to let that hang for a little bit. And I'm going to get a bead. And I'm going to put the bead in the center of the actual, what do I call it? The body of the envelope, I guess I'll call it. Just a tidbit of information. Because of the way I had to glue this, it was hard to wrap the string around. I eventually did get it to work, but I did have to like finagle it around because the glue was in the way and the string wouldn't stay. But all I did was like loop it through itself a little bit, and then it stayed wrapped around the bead. But if you all don't want to do it this way, you can do something simple like just staple and twist, or there's other ways you could do it. You could use a button. I could have actually made one of those little red circle things with my Cricut. I could have just cut a perfect circle and glued only the center of the circle if I wanted to. But I like the way I think the bead adds a little touch of glam to it, as well as the stone. So that's the way I chose to do that. And I'm just gluing it down. I am gonna, I feel like if I would have left it that much glue, it would have wrapped with no problem. But I wanted to make sure that the bead doesn't come off, so I'm gonna go back and add more glue around it. But I do think if I would have just left that much glue, it would have been perfectly fine. But I ain't trust it. I didn't feel like it was gonna hold that long, because once again, I had those on my graduation cap, and half of them are not on my graduation cap anymore. And I don't touch my graduation cap; it just sits. So I did go back and just add more glue. And then once again, I am just doing the same thing on the blue one. Literally the same thing. So I'm just sticking it on. Stick the jewel down. Oh, and by the way, if you all see glue squeezing out of that jewel, I know it's there. I don't really care. Like I said, if it wasn't for me, I would put more of an effort into not letting glue show so obviously. But I'm not making these for anybody. I'm not selling these for anybody. They're literally just my personal property and something that I wanted to do to get my cards to look better. So it wasn't a big deal to me. Like, I feel like my cards would look so much better if I had to pull these out in public than if I was pulling out that raggedy coin pouch. So the fact that I see glue, clear glue, is not it doesn't bother me at all. Now, instead of using a silver bead for this one, I just decided to use white, not for any particular reason, just was a personal preference. And if you notice, that bead box did have like 2 or 3 different size beads in it. I'm using the biggest beads that came in that packaging. So the other one had a silver bead, and then this one is just going to have like a pearlized white bead, because the stone is like an iridescent. Like, if you hold it a certain way, you can see all these different colors. So it all ties in together. Just making sure I glue that down and put pressure on it to make sure it sticks. And then there we have it. And it's not going anywhere, but you all are going to see me add more glue, because I feel like I always need more glue. But like I said, I feel like if I would have left it that way, I wouldn't have had a hard time wrapping the string. But essentially, I blocked the sides of the bead, which is why I had a little bit of a struggle getting the string to stay. But once I looped I wrapped the string and then slid it underneath itself, and so then it stayed put. And I'm just doing it on the next one as well. But there are all kinds of ways you can do it. You can buy a button, a fastener, you can, make a slit and slide it into the slit, all kinds of stuff. This is just the way that I thought it looked best. And it added a bit of character. And I'm just adding more glue to that next one, as you can see. I'm sorry I'm out of frame a little bit. I wasn't looking at my camera. I was just working. And then for that, obviously I'm going to pull off that extra glue because it came with my finger once I touched it. So I'm going to make sure I pull all that extra glue off. And I'm out of frame again, of course. And then that's basically it. I'm not going to wrap the strings around them on this clip because I don't know if the glue is completely dry. I know hot glue dries fast, but just in case, I'm not going to do it. And now this is the test, and they fit. So as you can see, it's a little bit more roomy because that ruler lifted the sides up a little bit more. And you see what I'm saying, where I had a hard time getting that. Well, I didn't really try, but I had a hard time getting that to stay around. So, but I figured it out. In the end, it did end up staying put. And then we're going to test out the next set of cards, which is more cards because that's an actual pack that I ordered. I have like 250 of those. And then there we have it. Aren't they so cute? I'm so proud of myself. But yeah, if you don't have a Cricut and you're just doing that by hand, you can just find a template online, or I know some YouTubers who make these. They have templates in their descriptions, and you could just use those templates off the internet, download it to your computer, or just print it from your printer or whatever, and then you could work from that template the same way. You do not have to have a Cricut to do this. I was just showing you all with the Cricut because I used my Cricut, but it does work if you just print it as well. It does not have to be on your Cricut for it to be made. But yeah, I think they're a nice cheap way as opposed to spending $10 a piece on some store-bought ones, and they look a lot better. They're so cute. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you all are interested in any more videos like this, let me know in the comments below. And I'm just showing y'all what I would have done if I would have used that other one, but I ended up not using it, so it doesn't even matter. So yeah, I hope you all like this video, and I will talk to you all later.